Hello, hello, my friends. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad to see you. Welcome to another episode of Be Real, Get Real with Women's Prosperity Network. I am Trish Carr, your host for the show, and I'm thrilled that you are here. So get comfortable. Go ahead and get, your beverage of choice, whatever that is. If you're live, I imagine you're having a quiet beverage like me. I'm having water. If it's later, you never know. Whatever you want, get comfortable. We're just going to have a conversation here. And I'm so excited about today's show because I'm going to bring you one of my dearest friends. And this is a woman that I admire so much. And I know that you are going to love her. And today's conversation is going to be really interesting because we're going to talk about some things that we don't usually talk about. And, when those things that we don't talk about get talked about, it gets really good. So be with us, get comfortable. The show is always about being real and getting real because truthfully, we do shows to introduce each other for our businesses so that we can get to know our products and services. But the reality is that we don't do business with businesses, we do business with people. So let's get to know the people behind the businesses because that's what builds the know, like, and trust is knowing those people. So it is my pleasure to introduce you today to Vismaya Rubin. Vismaya, you think that's easy to say, sorry. Vismaya is a mental health advocate and the founder of Living in Gratitude Today. Her approach to gratitude is original, edgy, direct, and energizing. For 20 years, she taught inner city high schoolers to tap into their inner gratitude gangsta and appreciate life, regardless of their circumstances. Now she shares these tools with overwhelmed and overworked women who are ready to reclaim their happiness. So, my dear friend, Vismaya Rubin, welcome to the show. So happy you are with me today.
So thrilled to be here, and I adore you, my friend.
Yes, ditto at you too. Me too. And I'm so glad we're having this conversation because, as much as I love you, we don't get a chance to see each other as often and we kind of catch up in between. So this is a chance for us to catch up as well. So before we get into the conversation we want to have around this particular topic in the show, tell us a little bit about being a teacher in an inner city high school and how on earth you were able to shift attitudes of kids in high school to one of gratitude.
All right. So first, I feel like a rooster. So let me fix this hair before it
No, your
dries.
hair looks
Okay.
fabulous. I love it.
It was sticking up. So I taught a character development class based on the 7 habits of highly effective teens for quite a while, and I created the curriculum, loved it. And then one day, my principal comes in and says, "Oh, by the way, we're gonna mix that class. You have to teach writing." I was fuming. I was furious. So I walked
So
in and
let
I
me
was
ask you before you go forward, was that a budget cut that made that happen? What made that happen that a character class was pushed out for reading, writing, arithmetic?
because writing was part of it was not a budget cut. It was that writing was part of the state test. And when the kids score higher on the state test, the schools,
Gets more money. Yeah,
it
so
was
it was because we had to pursue better test results.
correct.
Yeah, okay. Just wanted to reinforce some of the things we want to change in our schools.
So I was really, really angry
Mm.
because my kids, they needed what I was teaching them. So I had to kind of go with it a little bit. And I said, all right, you want me to teach writing? I'm going to do it my way. So one of the things that we started to do, I had ninth graders, and in the beginning, the test was it was a very silly test. You made up facts and you kind of just wrote, and very dumb. So when I was doing that, I was just having kids keep gratitude charts. And, I would have these ninth graders come in. I said, we're going to start practicing gratitude. So every month you need to come in with a list of 20 things that you're grateful for that are unique to the month. So don't tell me I woke up today and write that 20 times because I'm not accepting that. Or, Oh, I have a roof over my head. That's great, but that's not practicing gratitude. That's repeating a rote gratitude chart. Fast forward when they changed the test and they started to do evidence-based testing, we had to do reading where kids had to then pull evidence from the article to support whatever position they were taking, which was great because I was like free reign here. So I started pulling in articles about gratitude, about breathing, about sugar, whatever I wanted to. So it enhanced that practice for them. But tell a ninth grader when they walk into class the first day of ninth grade that they're going to start keeping a gratitude chart. They looked at me like I had lost my mind. Who is this lady? They were going, we're going to make it up. She's crazy. She doesn't know my life. I mean, eye rolls, like craziness. And then it started to shift. So within a few months, around Thanksgiving, they would leave me little notes saying, wow, thank you for making us do this. And then by June, they were having these epiphanies, wow, my brother and I are getting along better. One little girl came up to me and she says, I realize that I have so much free time or so much time that I get to spend with my family. Another one of my kids said to me, I realize that when I'm feeling sad, all I have to do is do something for somebody else. So that was pretty rewarding, and knowing that they got it, but it was because I was constantly on them saying, hey, did you, what's on your gratitude chart? When you walk in, you see gratitude chart due. So it was pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. I mean, to think about that you were able to turn ninth graders around and give them a skill for life, something that they'll use forever. In fact, I was at your website recently and I saw one of the stories on there was from a young man who went into the Marines. And just tell a little bit about him and what happened for him after high school.
So that was pretty shocking when I got a note on Instagram. He sent me a message and he's like, and he didn't love my writing class, let's be real. So he's like, of everything you taught us, there was a time that I was doing affirmations with them right before the testing, because I don't believe in the philosophy that if you fail the test, you're a failure in life. That's another story.
Right.
So I would do this whole thing on affirmations and I would make them say affirmations. And he said to me, he's like, if it wasn't for you teaching us how to do those affirmations and to be present to the things that are working in our life, he said, there were days that I had to say those affirmations 100, 200, 300 times just to get through the day.
Wow. Yeah.
So that was pretty amazing.
Yeah. I mean, literally a perfect example of what you were able to do for him in high school that translated to his life when he was in battle. I mean, he's in the Marines now. You can't be any more in battle than the Marines. So really, Vismaya, I hope you see so often what we do, we think, oh, no big deal. I hope you see that what you have done is a big deal. And the ripple effect of what you've done is literally going to change their world and our world as a result.
I do. Sometimes I need the reminders. So those are good reminders.
Let that in. Let that in, because that you really have changed lives. And, with you in the last couple of years, you've experienced lots of loss. And I may have started before, during the pandemic when you lost your dad, right? Was then even before that, right? Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the journey you've been on in the last few years with dealing, like really using the tools you teach everybody else, using them for yourself.
So I stopped teaching in 2017. I said I really had a talk with myself and I said, if I'm going to tell my kids to go out and take risks and to take chances and go for their dreams, I had to do the same thing. So I graduated from teaching in 2017. And then by the end of 2017, my dad was getting very sick, my biological dad.
Right.
And by the beginning of 2018, he passed away. And one of the things was, thank God I had quit when I quit, because I was able to be with him, be by his bedside, hang out with him, really have these moments that were very touching and very beautiful. And I got to like have great, conversations with him. I would say to him, well, what are you grateful for? And he was probably at that point ready to like give me a little poke in the eye because it was constant. Like, what are you grateful for today? And he's like, seriously? But then there were moments that he would share things with me that were just, it was beautiful. And I would write them down in a little notebook. And so I got to be there with him till the end. And then 6 months later, my uncle, I was very close with, in May, my cousin called me up and he says, listen, my dad just had 2 major surgeries. He's living in the assisted living facility. They are so frustrated right now because he doesn't want me to be here. We've hired aides. He's kicked every aide out. Can you be here? And I said, yeah. So I went there and I was like, this is going to be a piece of cake. And it was very challenging. And every day I had to wake up and say, today is going to be a great day. And my mind was going, are you kidding me? Do you see where you are? And I'm like, but today is going to be a great day. And I would post affirmations on the wall. And then one day I said to him, and I adored my uncle and he adored me. If you asked him who was his favorite kid, even though I wasn't his kid, he would have said me.
Yeah.
My cousins would agree. But I said to him one day, I said, uncle, I said, what are you grateful for today? And honestly, the answer I was waiting for was nothing. And he looks at me and he goes, you. So then fast forward to, we go through the pandemic. I'm like, life is going to get back to normal. At the beginning of 2021, my stepdad, who was also like a dad to me, goes into the hospital. Once he gets out of the hospital, they're like, he can't live by himself. I'm like, okay. So I moved myself to Miami, stopped doing everything in my life. His house looks like Sanford and Son. If you've ever watched Sanford and Son, where it is, and I'm not exaggerating when I'm telling you boxes upon boxes upon box. He was of the generation where you don't throw anything away.
Yeah.
So I would go and sort through things. I would throw a screw away, and the next minute I turn around and he was picking the screw out of the recycle bin because he's like, well, somebody's going to need this one day. And I was like, in the beginning, it was cute. But after that, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So it's 3 months doing that. We sold everything, every last thing, learned how to go on eBay and Marketplace. And then I moved him into assisted living facility. And then on August 16th at 4 something in the morning, I get a phone call and they said, Miss Rubin, your dad is dead. I'm like, what? And I thought it was a joke. And I'm like, this isn't funny. If you're not calling me from the facility, I don't want to hear from you. So it was the police department calling me. So we hung up, whatever that happened. The facility called me and my dad had passed. So I went through that year, but in the middle of going through all of that, starting to work again on practicing grant, not working again, but trying again to get my message out there. But I was grieving. I was dealing with a lot of grief. And how do I experience what I was experiencing and sending out a positive message? Because I do believe that you can experience sadness and gratitude at the same time. And I remember on his birthday, a couple months after he had passed away, I was crying. Like I just could not stop crying. And then I started to write about it. And I'm like, those tears are because I miss him so much. And the gratitude comes from the space of, I was so grateful that I had such a great relationship. Not only did I have my biological dad, I had my ex stepdad. So the joke is I kept him in the divorce. So I had my ex stepdad. And then the beauty is that the two of them got along. So I got to have holidays with, both of my dads. I got to have holidays like Father's Day with both of them together. And they had a love and a mutual respect for each other and a love for how much they each loved me. So that was amazing. But experiencing, or going through his birthday and holidays and missing him, I was very present to the fact that I only missed him because of the fact that we had such a tremendous relationship.
Yeah.
So that was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And then a few months ago, I lost my mom, which was completely unexpected. And we had a relationship where we adored each other at a soul level. Like we had been together for many lives for sure. But when we were together, we were like oil and water.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't say anything about her. because I would be like on
Right.
top of you, but I could say something about her.
Yes. I can relate. I can relate. Mothers and daughters, totally different relationship.
So that was interesting. I get a call. I'm in North Carolina. I had just had a fabulous vacation with my girlfriends, and then I had to go do a show. So, excuse me, I did a show in North Carolina, and I get a call Monday morning, and it was the day after my sister-in-law's mother died. So it was kind of like I was melancholy. I was driving home, and she's like, "You need to come home right now. You put me in this rotten place, and I can't believe you did this, and you need to get here right now." And I'm like, "Mom, I'm going to drive for 10 hours. This is not the way you want me driving. So I'll be home. Take a deep breath. Don't tell me to take a deep breath. Come home right now.
Don't throw any of that gratitude stuff at me."
So that was really a moment where I have to practice what I preach. And sometimes I have to lean in. And I called a friend of mine, Diana Noble, and I was just like, I need to vent for a minute. And she said to me, "Vismaya, this too shall pass." And I think that that's a brilliant thing to remember, both in really great moments and joyous moments. Like, hold on to those moments, be present, soak them up, experience them, feel them, smell the smells, hear the sounds, because this too shall pass.
Yes.
And then when you're in the middle of the, I don't know if I'm allowed to say the S word, but the shitstorm, when you're in the middle of the shitstorm, remember that this too shall pass. So I drove home as my mother kept calling me, "This too shall pass, this too shall pass, this too shall pass." And then, to make a very long story short, Monday night I went to see her. I went straight to go see her. Went there Tuesday a couple times. They had not done something at the facility they needed to do with her medicine. And then Wednesday night she called me and she goes, "I need to go to the hospital." So I had an ambulance pick her up. I met her at the hospital. She had to have emergency surgery the next morning. And that really was the beginning of the end, like the beginning of the real end. So we spent 11 days in ICU, and it was the first time that I was very quiet. Because normally I'm like posting, and if people want to come over, I'm like, "Come over." And I'm like, no, I didn't want to talk to people. I didn't want to be around anybody. I just wanted to be by myself with my mother, which was very interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. So, well, she couldn't talk. She couldn't talk. I mean, that sounds horrible.
Perfect. Perfect.
It was. So this is funny, but not funny. So I had a huge show and I was freaking out because I needed to go to the show because it was a financial wonder for me. So my friend Bonnie says, "Vismaya, I love you. I will go sit with your mother for a couple hours at night." Talk about gratitude. I mean, like, really, like, get that for a second. I would go there in the morning, and then a friend of mine who really didn't know my mother went there at night to sit with her so she wasn't sitting alone. And because my fear was that if she was by herself, the night people would think that she has nobody who cares about her, and who knows what would happen. But she took time out of her day to go there and sit a couple hours every night. And then the one night that she wasn't able to, she heard it in my voice. She's like, "Don't worry, I'll change my plans. I'll go." So my mother was intubated at that point. They decided to extubate her on that Monday. I go there, and I was thinking, this is horrible, but it's the truth. I was like, "Put the tube back in," because all she was doing was like mumbling F-bombs. And when she saw me, because, now they had taken away some of the sedative, and she saw me and she was really pissed at me because she thought that I put her in the hospital, which I didn't. So it was a very interesting battle back and forth. There was like anger and frustration, and I'm, crying because this could be the end. And then the first word that comes out of her mouth is an F-bomb. And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Put the tube back in, please." I didn't say that out loud, but that was kind of what was going on. And, sometimes when I say, "Oh, I teach about gratitude," everybody expects me to be like a Pollyanna. I'm not a Pollyanna. Life happens. And sometimes I get angry, and sometimes I want them to shove the tube back in my mother's throat. Because It's like, F-bombing everybody, and I'm touching her, and she's like pulling herself away, like she wants to punch me. I'm like, oh my God. And I've been struggling and stressed for days over this.
Right. I had my friend sit at your bedside, and this is how you treat me? Yeah.
So, then I had to make a decision because the wound was, there was necrosis in the wound, which meant the muscles around were dying, everything was dying. And again, this is a moment of gratitude because the doctors were patient and they were kind and they explained things to me 17 times because I wasn't hearing. And then I would call my best friend who's a nurse, and I said, I need you to listen because I cannot hear. And the doctors would repeat again what they had just told me 5 seconds before. And so even in the middle of this struggle, I was still able to find these moments of gratitude. And I think the biggest one came for me the night before she died. And again, this is like magical moments because we had talked about having a conversation with hospice. I told them on Thursday, have hospice call me on Friday. I went to go do a massage. I came back and all my calls came through except hospice. And I told them I needed to speak to a rabbi. No rabbi, no hospice. So the doctors come in Saturday morning now and they're like, well, how's it going? I'm like, nothing has changed. I said, I still haven't talked to hospice. I still haven't talked to a rabbi. They're like, don't worry, we'll get you a rabbi. I'm like, it's Shabbat. How are you going to get me a rabbi?
Right.
Behind the scenes, some angels were working, and I found out the backstory after. 10 minutes in, walks a rabbi. Now, he was very observant, so he normally would not pick up the phone on a Saturday, but he's part of an emergency system, so he's able to use the phone for emergencies. He comes in, we have a wonderful conversation, and hopefully I'll be able to share that conversation at one point. I'm not there yet, but
that's okay.
We have a wonderful conversation. He says, call me after Shabbat. Okay. In comes hospice. I sign the papers, and we're now moving her. And I know it's the end.
Yeah.
So they said to me, do you want to go with her in the ambulance? And I didn't know that was an option. I'm like, okay. So I went with her in the ambulance. And again, another moment of gratitude, because when we transferred her to the other hospital, you could only have 3 people in the room. So the hospital downstairs didn't know I was there. I call the rabbi up and he says to me, he goes, I don't have a lot of words. He says, but I'll tell you this, live with her. Live with her. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Right.
What does that mean? Live with her. So 3 of my best friends come in that, we grew up together. We have a little bit of a party where the music is on, we're laughing, and they know that this is their final goodbye to her. Live with her, live with her, live with her. And really allowing myself to be in a space of, I was very sad. I knew this was it.
Right.
But to stay in that space of like, wow, 3 of my best friends, one who just lost his dad a few months before, showed up to celebrate my mom's last night of life with me.
Wow.
The next morning I woke up, major anxiety, because every sound I heard, I was like, major anxiety, woke up. And I went over to her and I played her a prayer that was like just kind of a prayer before death. And it was just she and I. And I put my hand I put my face in her hand and I said, Ma, pet my face. And you could see like she touched my face a little bit. And she knew it was me because every time I would move, she was cognizant enough to know if I moved around because she'd follow me. So she sat there with her hand in my face and I got to say, I'm sorry, and I forgive you. Because there's a lot of story there that doesn't need to be said today. And I hope you forgive me. and know that I'll be okay. So my brother, he's my half brother, but we never use that term, shows
Right.
up. My other brother couldn't come because he had been in Honduras with his wife for a mass for his mother-in-law and caught COVID. So my brother comes in, he puts his face to my mother's, face and is petting her hair, and my face is in her hand and I'm crying, and he says, "Boo, she just told you she loved you." I look up at her and I go, "Ma, you just tell me you love me?" And she says, he goes, "She said it twice." So the last words my mother said were, "I love you."
Wow.
And I think the reason I'm able to remember every single detail is because of my ingrained gratitude practice of finding those moments, to hold on to them, to remember them, to write them down, to listen to them, because I know that when death happens, it's very easy to fall into the sadness and the pain, because I was there.
Yeah.
But the beauty is also to find those moments that are like, oh my, those were God moments for me. Like,
Yeah.
the last words my mother spoke were, "I love you." The last sound my mother heard was me laughing.
Oh, wow.
I told my
That's
brother, I
great.
said, we have a bad habit when we're together and something not so great happens, we laugh. And I said to him, I go, "If you laugh when my mother dies, I'm going to kill you." So we were having the most inappropriate conversation, cackling like two animals.
That's great.
And she takes a breath, and I'm like, "Boo, is that it?" And we rush to her bedside, and she takes another breath, and that was it.
Yeah. Wow.
So live with her gave me the ability to not be in that sadness, but to really allow myself to. And it was a reminder every moment I was going into the, oh my God, my mother's going to die. And live with her, live with her, live with her, live with her, and capture those moments that were so beautiful and painful, but beautiful. Like,
Wow. Wow. You could not have told a better story about how what you do in the world and you do for yourself changes everything. I mean, the fact that you were able to stay in the moment, to live with her when you went through losing your father and your uncle and your other dad. I mean, all of that happening in a row. I mean, really close together. And you have been, I mean, I've seen other people who would be taken down by that. And your practice, I mean, just it's a testimony to everything you taught those kids in high school and everything you teach people today. So thank you. Thank you so much. If someone were to say, how do I get started with a gratitude practice? I know the first thing I want to tell you to do is go to livingingratitudetoday.com and sign up for Vismaya's monthly membership, which is like nothing. But if I'm a member and it keeps me reminded, I love getting your emails to remind me, oh, I've got to remember, live in gratitude. So, what would you say to someone besides, let's go to the website right now or the Facebook page and let's get involved in this community that you've created? But how do I get started?
grab your phone and set the phone to go off every 3 to 4 hours. And when your phone goes off, ask yourself these questions. Who or what made a difference for me? So it's my gratitude wins. Who or what made a difference for me? What did I do for myself or somebody else? Because we often forget to look at the great things that we do for ourselves and other people.
Yeah.
How did I nourish my mind, body, or spirit? And what made me smile or laugh till my sides hurt? Write them down. And then here's the catch. If nothing happened in those 3 to 4 hours, if you can't find anything, you're going to do it again in 3 to 4 hours again. It's not about beating yourself up. Oh my God, I can't even do a gratitude practice right. It's about, recognizing and then saying, okay, I'm going to try this again in 3 to 4 hours. And if you're really going through something tough and maybe getting out of bed was the only thing you could do, that's a moment of gratitude. That's a win. And the more we practice, the more, and it's a muscle. I can't stand the term attitude of gratitude because I don't know how to have an attitude, but I do know how to have a gratitude practice because there are simple steps that I can do on a regular basis. And that when I do them, that practice goes stronger. Just like if I want to, lose weight, what do I have to do? I have to watch what I eat and I have to exercise and I have to actually do those things, put them into practice. The philosophy about them doesn't help me lose weight.
Yeah.
The action. So when we practice gratitude, if in those 3 to 4 hours, again, nothing happens, you're going to do it over and over and over again until it becomes automatic. And now, thank God, like something will happen and I'm like, that's a moment. That's a gratitude moment. That's a win.
Right.
And it becomes automatic, even in the middle of a challenge.
I love it. All right, so make sure I got it. Who or what made a difference for me today? What did I do for myself or someone else today to make a difference? Nourish my mind, body, and what did I do to nourish my mind, body, and spirit today? And did I miss one?
And what made me laugh or smile, or what made me smile or laugh till my sides hurt?
That's it.
You're a good writer. You wrote that fast.
Yeah, but I missed the last one. Till my sides hurt. I love that. And here's the other thing. Your sides can hurt. It's so easy. So many times we're in moments where we're upset about something or angry about something. Perfect example. Last night my husband had a conversation and he was mad at me because I kept telling him to close the kitchen cabinets. He goes, who says the cabinets have to be closed? Why can't they be open? So, and I was like, because they're supposed to be closed. He goes, what are you, the supposed to be girl? I thought there was no supposed to's in your world. And I was like, well, forget about it. I said, I'm not going to talk about this with you. And I went into the house. And when I left him, I went into the kitchen and I opened every cabinet door in the kitchen. And I went upstairs and then I sent him a text and I said, the mischievous cabinet imp was here. Did you see what they did in the kitchen? And he texted me back, oh, don't tell Trish. I said, well, she's up here twitching right now, hashtag control feed. So we turned it into funny rather than let's get angrier and angrier and fight about this stupid roommate issue when we love each other. So,
but what I also heard there was he's listening because he's like, there's no shoulds in your world.
I know. Don't you hate it when your own advice comes back to you like that?
We love Dan the man.
Yeah, we do. We do. So, I could have gotten angrier and angrier, but I said, no, let me make some fun with this. This is the way to turn it around. So I love that you have that one in there. What made me laugh till my sides hurt. So right now, I want everybody to pick up their phones. Come on, you can do this. And set an alarm to repeat every 4 hours. Let's start there. And then ask yourself those 4 questions. And for more information, be sure to go to Living in Gratitude Today or go to the Facebook group Living in Gratitude Today and check out that great shirt that Vismaya has on, the hashtag grateful. Love those. You can get those at the website as well. And let me tell you what, I gave away lots of them at Christmas for presents. They're so wonderful. And everybody that got them is not part of my world, except for one person. But they got these shirts and they held it up and they were like, wow, that's great. That's a great shirt. I love that. And look at the little bit of change that shirt is going to make for them. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your story and for showing all of us that life is a journey and you can choose the journey and how you want that journey to go. And it starts in every moment. Every moment. Thank you, Vismaya Rubin. Thank you all for being with us today on Be Real, Get Real. And we'll see you next time on another episode of Be Real, Get Real. That was my Elmer Fudd coming out there. Be real, get real next week. Thank you, everybody.